Good morning, fellow Plexers. I've recently made a fresh Ubuntu 24.04 Plex server install video, and this is a follow-up video to demonstrate all the Plex-related programs a server owner might want to use. So I have MakeMKV in my toolbar under Ubuntu, and actually let's switch this around. Have the Plex server first, and then I have MakeMKV info, or I'm sorry, MakeMKVToolnix, and then Filebot, Handbrake, MusicBrainz Picard. So MakeMKV will rip DVD and Blu-ray discs, and if you have a Blu-ray drive that has the right firmware, you can also rip UHD Blu-ray discs. MKVToolnix allows you to manipulate what's inside the container file, and even though MKV is in its name, you can do the same with an MP4, which then gets saved as an MKV when you're done. Filebot renames movies and episodes. Handbrake converts your media to a different resolution or a different codec, and MusicBrainz Picard brings in robust metadata so that your music content will scan into Plex correctly, and if it's a true compilation album that doesn't exist in a database, you can arrange songs from different albums to all scan in as a custom album and even add custom artwork. I have many videos on all these subjects, but I just wanted to give a soup to nuts demo for a new user. And the reason I use these programs is because they are available under Windows, Linux, or the Mac OS. I also think it's helpful to install the Plex HTPC client app and the Plex Player app, which is just another version of the web app. I use a Chrome shortcut to get to TMDB and TVDB, and I like to start with MakeMKV. Because that'll take the longest. Right now I've inserted a Forrest Gump DVD movie. So you see the label just says Forrest. This is the old drive. I'm using a HP 9th Gen G600 Pro Desk as my test system. So once the CD loads, or I'm sorry, the DVD or the Blu-ray loads, click open the disc, and MakeMKV will analyze things. Now I think MakeMKV is $60 to buy a lifetime subscription to it. When you first install it, I believe you get a 30 or 60 day trial, and the developer of this program usually will post a new beta key in his forum someplace so you can unlock it again to evaluate it longer. But once you start using it, and if you use it regularly, it's worth buying. Alright, so we're still scanning the disk. Now this is default. I haven't changed any settings with this, and basically about the only settings you'd want to change is where to point the default folder to. So right now it's just going in my home directory under my username in a subfolder called Forest, and I'll leave that alone, but you might want to have it pop into maybe your video folder or any folder you can define yourself. So under title, I can expand this, and I can see that there's extra audio tracks besides the 5.1. I'll disable the French one, and now we'll see that there's two stereo English tracks. One is probably a commentary track, but I don't want either. I just want the 5.1. We'll also see that there's subtitles, the English and then the CC ones. I'm going to leave them both now And later on, we'll open this up in MKVToolnix when we get that far. So then over on the right, I'll just click MakeMKV. I have to confirm the folder it's going to create, and off it goes. So we'll check back with this in a little bit to see how long it's going to take. Well, okay, it's analyzing. We don't have an estimate of when it'll be done yet, but we'll check back in. So what I'm going to move to next is MusicBrainz Picard, because I'll need the output from this MakeMKV rip to use some of the other tools. So let me go to Files. Let me go to Music. And I have a bunch of B.B. King albums that I want to check in MKV before I do anything else. So under Linux, I should be able to choose Open and then Open With and go find MKVToolnix. I'm sorry, MusicBrainz Picard. Click Open. And I had the warning that changes are not reversible once I commit to them. So now once I'm in MusicBrainz Picard, you see the individual songs, and the first thing to do is always to cluster. And let me adjust these a little bit. So if I click to expand this, you'll see the individual songs. And all I have to do is click Scan. And you'll see the number of tracks decrease here. And a couple albums are loading off to the right. Let me make that easier to read. And you'll see that 10 out of the 11 songs got matched to the right album, but one song didn't. And if I expand that, you'll see that song is missing here because it's not green. Yellow would mean a possible match, red would be not a match at all, and when you see the note, it means there's no match. So if I just click that so it's not expanded, I can literally just drag this up here like that. Or I can not have that expanded and just drag this up, and you'll see this changes to 11 out of 11, this changes to 0 out of 14, and now I have the gold label for the audio disc. So I can get rid of this one by removing it. And now if I look at these songs, you'll see the metadata it started with, and now you'll see more robust metadata. Now whoever ripped this said this was a 1998 version of the album, and I've matched to a 1990. That might be okay with me, but let's do this. Let's copy the name of the album and let me paste it in to the search, and we'll see if we can find a re-release for 1998. Well, this one is from 1998, but it has 14 tracks. So let's open that up. So we'll just take this and we'll drag it in there. So now we've got a better match, but we're missing 3 songs. So it's up to you as the Plex server owner. If you want this to be perfect, maybe you'd have to find another version that would have the remaining 3 songs, but at least this metadata would match up. Or you could simply have it complete with a different release year. And you'll see here, if we kind of look around a little bit, let me pick one song. The original track is 2 minutes and 16 seconds long. and it's supposed to be 2 minutes and 11 seconds. Let's drag it back down into this one. And now you'll see that the track length is a match. So somebody ripped this and labeled it the wrong way when they put their metadata in. And this is a better match, so that's what I'm going to commit to. So I'm going to just hit save. I'm going to check this so I don't see the warning anymore. And I'll hit, well, let me hit the whole album, because I just had one song selected, and that's why that has the check mark. So now that I have the whole album collected and I hit save, it'll go down the list. So now, if I take this and add it to my Plex music library, all right, let me find where I am. Let me open up another tab. And this is where I'm keeping the library for this test Plex install. Let me create an artist folder. Now with a Plex music library, unlike a movie or TV show library, it really doesn't depend on folder organization. With a default music library, it's going to pull all the embedded metadata first and use that and try to make an online match. And if Plex doesn't find an online match, then it's going to organize just based on the embedded metadata. And then failing that, folder organization might be relevant, but if you're using a tool like MKVToolnix, like MusicBrainz Picard, you can basically use any folder structure you want. So I'm just going to paste this in. So let's get Plex going. And because I have my main server and multiple test servers running, I need to change to this test server. And I can go down to Manage Libraries and go to Music. And now when I scan, we should see that album. And all my videos are cold. So when something goes wrong, okay, so this, when I first set this up with my other video, I pointed the music library to a portable drive. So let's fix that now. Let's go to my home folder, my username, okay, so now I'm in the right folder, and let me remove the path to the portable drive and save changes. So this new path has the same examples on it, plus the new album. All right, so we've got an entry for B.B. King, and we have this album. And the only thing Plex doesn't tell us is that we're missing 3 songs. And that's one of the beauties of MusicBrainz Picard. When you run your music through to check, you kind of know what's going on better than if you didn't use MusicBrainz Picard. So I can remove this and that. And now let's try this. Wrong area. Resist the urge to do too much of this. I'm going to drag in a bunch of songs, bunch of albums, hit cluster, now you can just do this. You can just scan all of them but you're going to have some songs that are going to misappropriate themselves into the wrong album. And just in case there's a wrong album listed that happens to be complete, you'll be screwing the metadata up. So what do we start with? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 albums. I removed this one because we already matched it. And now we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 albums because things didn't really work out exactly the right way. So this King of Blues says there's 77 out of 77 songs. This King of the Blues 1989 says there's 11 out of 11. And this may be correct. And I bet if I added all these items up, I'd come up with a 77. But I'd rather have people start off a different. Let's remove these. And let me just eliminate that because we've already done that. Let me just pull these in. I'm going to cluster them. I'd rather just do this album separate and scan it. I know it probably was right before, but now I'm assured of it. So now I can save that. And now I can highlight all of these and scan that also. You'll notice these track counts are going down and this track count is going up. Almost there. And again, the gold color signifies that it's scanned correctly. And I'm not going to go into it here, but this is a multi-CD release. If you had your own compilation, you can use one of these as an example. And you'll see, if you look through the metadata, there's a disc number input field. So you can create your own multi-CD compilation albums by embedding the correct metadata. So everything looks great. So we'll highlight both and we'll save it. And you'll see the save counts down there too. So now I can remove those. And let's look at this one separately. I just click scan. So it confused one of the tracks with a different album, and I can just drag it in. And now I've got the gold CD. I'll save, highlight both and remove. And now we'll do this last one, which just happened to be probably more of a problem than the other one. So make note why I sing the blues. I found 14 out of 20, which means there's 6 that went. I'll get rid of the wrong albums. You can click in and check, and if you want to check around to see how each song matches with the original metadata, you can. And then when you click back up here, just save, and now I can remove it from MusicBrainz Picard. So that's a base tutorial. And now I can copy these into the same music artist folder. And if I go back to Plex, let's back up one little bit. I can scan the music library and those albums will pop in. You can see the progress in dashboard. And let's go back to the music library. Now some of these came in under, nope, that didn't come in under the various artists that was there. I am only getting 2 albums. Let me refresh Plex. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't scroll down far enough. The others are listed as compilation albums. Alright, so that's MusicBrainz Picard. Let's check back in with MKVToolnix. I'm sorry, MakeMKV. Alright, so we're almost done. So let's talk about MKVToolnix next. And what's my example? My example is going to be I'm not sure which library it's in. Okay, I'm going to use this one. Now, I use my own custom Filebot expressions, and I'll show you how I get there. But I'm not going to go in deep on the Filebot expressions. I'm going to show you how to use Filebot with all the default options first. But that's how I got this. My Filebot expression will pick up a keyword in the folder or the file name of an addition tag and add that automatically. And it adds in media characteristics, and it also looks for unlabeled or English subtitles. If it finds embedded English subtitles, it gives this ENGSUB descriptor. If they're unknown, it gives a UND for, I think, undiscovered or undescribed. So let me open this with MKVToolnix. Alright, you'll see that we have different components inside the container. We have the video file. We have audio as FLAC and audio as AAC. Now this is a public domain movie, so I can open this and alright, so my Forrest Gump has finished. I'm just going to minimize that for now. Because this is public domain, I can open it in VLC. And if I look under audio, I'll see that this one's a commentary track. I'll want to get rid of that. And then I'll see I have multiple subtitles. This English one is the PGS, and these two are, well, I'm not sure which is which yet. So let me just go back. I just wanted to show that there's multiple audio and subtitle tracks. So this is the commentary one. I can simply uncheck it. And I do not want this one. This is the PGS. That's not compatible across all client devices. But I do want the SRT subtitles. And then you have to check for flagging. Fortunately, they're all labeled correctly for the language. But if we click into the hearing impaired one, the SDH, we want to make sure it's flagged properly. And what am I missing here? There should be an SDH flag here. Well, there is on my Pop! OS desktop. I'm not sure why I'm not seeing it here, but I'm just going to skip past that. But you do see there is a flag for a forced audio track. And as long as it's got SDH in its name, Plex will pick it up when it scans it. So the last thing to do is, if you want to give it a different name, you can fill that in here. And if you just leave it, I'll show you what happens. So to save these changes, I hit Start Multiplexing, and you'll watch the progress bar in the bottom right. Now this is an older system. It doesn't take really that long. On my i9 12th gen CPU, it just literally zips across that little screen and it's finished. The smaller the file, the quicker it takes. The larger the file, the longer it takes. So an MKV or MP4 are just container files that contain the different components of a movie. So you're basically zipping it up, uncompressing. You're basically unzipping it, uncompressing it to work on it, and when you're finished, you're zipping it back up as a new folder. So MKVToolnix is totally non-destructive. All right, we can close that. And if I refresh, you'll see that I have the same file name just with 1 in parentheses after it. So if I open that up, you'll see we just have the 2 subtitles now, and we just have the 1 audio track. Now if I wanted to, I could leave both, and I could leave, or I could have this older one be marked commentary.